Nah, it's just me. I'm gonna take this off. Ugh, now my hair's all messy. Ugh. That took longer than it needed to be, because this little guy started to get on with that mask on. Whew. It's also very hot in this mask. I hate mask. Let me fix this. That all out of the way. Hey guys, how is everybody doing? As if you can't tell from my little outfit and my little small little intro there, today I'm going to be talking about Terrifier with the brand new one releasing in theaters this weekend. So today you're going to be getting my review of the very first Terrifier, and then tomorrow hopefully you'll get my review of Terrifier 2. Now I'm gonna fix my camera. Just gonna, yeah, there we go. Gotta fix the camera. That's gonna bug me. So for those of you who don't know, I'm actually a pretty big Terrifier fan. I've been a fan of it since the very beginning, and I've actually been a fan of Art the Clown before Part 2, which I will admit, Terrifier does have its issues, which I will get into when I get into the film, but Terrifier has always been one of those films that I've always really enjoyed for some reason. Now, it's not that I have like a lot of nostalgia for it. I can't talk apparently, but I do have like a small amount of nostalgia for Terrifier because I remember when I was younger, I believe I found this movie on Prime Video at the time when it was free on there back when it like first had like its wide release back in like 2018, I think it was. And I found it on Prime Video, and I just thought the guy on the poster looked cool, who we all know as Art the Clown now. And I saw him, I was like, oh, he kind of looks cool. This might be a good horror movie. And then I found out that it was also banned in a few countries, from what I remember. And I was like, oh, so this movie's probably really bad, but not in a bad way, but probably messed up bad. And holy crap, it was. And ever since, I have fell in love with Art the Clown and Terrifier. That is why I am very excited for the new one and very excited to talk about this series. Starting out with my positives on Terrifier, and the main thing of what this movie is remembered for, and the main thing why this movie and this series has become so popular is because of its practical effects. I am a huge fan of practical effects, and I will always prefer it over CGI, and now unfortunately AI, because AI we have to worry about now. So I will always prefer practical effects because it just makes everything look awesome and makes everything more realistic, which what practical effects are kind of main for. That's what the whole thing about them is just that they look realistic. And this movie, especially for the small budget that they had, the practical effects in this movie look amazing. Every kill in this movie is absolutely gory and it looks absolutely amazing, which I will get into. Just every single kill in this movie and every single effect in this movie is just awesome. And I have to give my flowers and my kudos to the cast and crew to that because I gotta fix these gloves. Because, like I said, this movie has a very small budget. I believe the budget for this movie is estimated or around $15,000, which may seem like a lot of money. That is not a good budget for a film. That is like pennies and dimes to filmmakers. Because that is just nothing to work with. And the fact that they were able to spend that money as on amazing effects as they were able to, I absolutely appreciate that, and I absolutely have to give my flowers to that because that is just mind blowing in my mind. Because that's just something like I don't know how you were able to do that, but I absolutely love you for that. And Damien Leone, who is the writer and director of this movie, and also editor, producer, pretty much everything in this film. He also helped with work on the practical effects in this movie. And once again, gotta give my kudos there because if your writer and director helps you make practical effects, then he knows that. Then you know that this guy means business, and you know that this guy wants his movie's effects to look great. So, flowers to you, dude. I also feel like this movie does a really good job of like getting under your skin and really making you feel uncomfortable and making you feel kind of just on edge the entire time. Like when you're watching it, you should be like as horror fans, we would probably be like, "Oh, that's awesome looking. Oh, that girl getting split in half. That like is awesome." But at the same time, as you're watching it, you're like, "Should I be enjoying this? Because this is really messed up." And I don't know if I like this. I kind of like that about the movie, to where it makes you just feel uncomfortable and just on edge the entire time. Like you don't know if you should be liking what you're seeing. I don't know if you should be enjoying what you're seeing. Again, as horror fans, that's just what we like, I guess. But just when you're watching it and you're kind of just seeing all that happen, it's just like, I don't know if I like this. I don't know if I'm enjoying what's happening on screen because it's not fun to watch because it's really it's just really messed up. It's just like every kill in this movie. Like, it's awesome to see. Effects are great and all that, but it's just like, I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I should be enjoying this. I don't know if I should be uncomfortable. I don't know if I should be laughing. I don't know if I should be looking away, possibly throwing up, because apparently people like to throw up watching these movies in the theater. Hmm. But yeah, I really enjoyed that about the movie, and it's something that I realize now, especially since we have two more of these movies and we see people apparently passing out and throwing up in the theater trying to watch these movies. I kind of like this movie more because of that, because when you know all that stuff from like now those two movies getting wide releases and all that, and just seeing that of what people's reaction is to it, I really enjoy that. It's something that I don't know. It's weird, but it's kind of a good weird in a way. I'm just having fun at this point. Now, the star of the show, the main reason that one of the main reasons that this series is so popular and why a lot of my peers are now horror fans is Art the Clown. Art the Clown is just one of the coolest and creepiest horror villains in today's day and age to where and especially in today's world, it is very hard to become an instant horror classic, and it is very hard to have an audience and horror fans really see a horror character and say that he's going to be an instant classic. And Art the Clown, to me, is just that. When I watched this movie and I saw how brutal he was and how cool and how creepy he was, I knew it that people were going to love this guy and people were going to say this is going to be the next horror icon. And obviously, he is. Go to any Spirit Halloween in your local area and the first thing I guarantee you will see is Art the Clown stuff. I went to Spirit Halloween about 3 weeks ago. I got this costume, I got this knife, I got the sunglasses. Art the Clown is just everywhere at this point, and it is it's not a doubt in my mind why he's so popular. Now, sure, yes, there's a lot to this character that does need to be explored, and the second one doesn't really help it with that, which hopefully we'll get more explanations in the third one. Sure, this character, it doesn't have a lot of. It doesn't really give you a lot from this character. All you know is that he dresses like a mime, he has supernatural moments to him, and he just really likes to fuck people up. That's all we know about Art the Clown. In a way, I kind of like that because it makes his character creepier. You don't know why he likes to kill people, other than just for his own amusement, pretty much. And you just don't really know why. You just don't know why he gets enjoyment out of killing. You don't know if he's like literally something from hell. You don't know what this guy is, and he is just awesome. Just like the look of this guy, just how brutal he can be, and just how funny in some moments he can be at kinda. Like when he's messing with the characters, kinda like when he has the girl tied up and he's like messing with her, like about to hit her, but like backs up and then takes the little curtain off her friend and then cuts her in half after that. Like there's moments to here where you kind of giggle at him, but it's not, and it's kind of like an uncomfortable giggle. Like when he does something funny, you kind of laugh at it, but at the same time you're like, I am messed up for laughing at this. But like I've said this before, and I have gotten yelled at for this from people and who are horror fans, especially in my family who are horror fans. I have said this is that Art the Clown is kind of like the new Freddy Krueger of this generation. Now, no one can ever outdo Freddy Krueger. No one can because Freddy Krueger is just awesome. He's one of my favorite horror icons. He's right behind Chucky as with my favorite. But Freddy has been gone for years. Freddy Krueger has not been on the big screen or even the small screen, unfortunately, for decades. It's almost been 20 years. It's almost been 15 years since we last saw a Freddy Krueger movie. The last time we saw him was that god awful 2010 remake, which understandably I kind of understand why. Although I hate to say it. But in a way, we kind of found the new generation of Freddy Krueger with Art the Clown, because like, sure, he doesn't really have elements of him really, but he does have that supernatural, goofy side of Freddy to him. Because like I mentioned earlier, messing with the girl with the hammer, acting like he's gonna hit her, but then backs away and goes back to do it again. Like moments like that. That reminds me of Freddy, and just like how he laughs at what he's doing. He's laughing at his kills. He's laughing at the people suffering and all that. Like that reminds me a lot of Freddy, but Art the Clown also has moments of like kind of has like resemblance of like Michael Myers and Jason with the silent stalking, doesn't talk, doesn't say a word, which is kind of why I like Art the Clown and why I believe he's brilliantly portrayed by not David Howard Thornton, excuse me, because like the way that you can just understand what Art is doing, or kind of like physical expressions and in a physical environment, how he kind of shows his actions in a way. Like when he's laughing, he doesn't actually laugh. He does like a silent laugh. Like you can like he's laughing. Like you know what he's kind of saying with his body. Like he has body language pretty much, which I believe he's brilliantly portrayed by David Howard Thornton, which makes sense because he is a mime and mimes don't really talk. So it makes sense. So yeah, I think Art the Clown is just an absolute horror icon of this generation. A lot of my peers really love the guy, and I don't blame him because he's awesome. But yeah, hopefully, I will admit, I do hope we get to see more of his explanations and more of what Art the Clown is, hopefully, with this third movie, because I'll get into it the second movie. We don't really get to learn anything about Art the Clown in that one. But yeah, Art the Clown, instant horror icon in my mind, and he's creepy at moments, but he could also be funny at moments. It's kind of messed up saying that. And my final positive, and this kind of goes with the practical effects, is that the kills in this movie are awesome. As someone who loves practical effects and as someone who loves kills in horror movies, and that is like the main thing you kind of look for in a slasher film, is kills. How brutal will they be? How awesome will they be? How creative will they be? And this movie takes all of that and just turns it up to 15 because they are awesome.
Hey, God in heaven, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
And my favorite kill, which is probably the most memorable scene in this entire series, and if not in this movie, is when he has the girl hanging upside down and takes a hacksaw and just cuts her in half from that area all the way down to her neck. Because that kill, it's messed up and it's kind of hard to watch, but at the same time, can't help but love it because it is awesome. It is cool as hell. And just the kills in general. Each one is very creative. Like, even if, like, a kill happens off screen, they pay it off later. Like, with the guy at the pizzeria, he gets killed off screen, but it's paid off later because we then see that his head was turned into a jack-o'-lantern. Creative, and it matches the season. I like Halloween. As you can tell, I'm wearing a costume. And I have that. How about the pumpkin, too? How about that pumpkin? I'm very excited for that. But yeah, the kills in this movie are just absolutely amazing, and kudos to the cast and crew to how to make them all so creative and just make Art look like a messed up human being or demon. We don't know what Art is, but yeah, the kills in this movie. Moving on to my mixed aspects, and I won't really rip this movie apart for this one thing alone, that I do think this movie does have elements of a low budget, and it does have that low budget like feeling to it. Again, this movie was made for maybe over like $15,000. Again, not much money there, and that is pennies and dimes to filmmakers. I don't know the exact budget, but it was very small. It was a very small budget, and God, excuse me, and you can definitely tell because of like the quality of the film. It's very grainy and it's not that great quality. Which I don't know if that's what they were going for, but I have a feeling it has to do with the low budget. But again, I won't brag on it too much and I won't like rip it apart because of it. But it just has that moments of that because like there's certain parts to where like Art the Clown is kind of what like in the beginning of the movie, like a little small TV turns on in the screen and you can tell there's like this weird outline around the TV and you can tell there's like maybe a green screen there possibly. Like just on screens you can tell they kind of look fake at moments if you really pay attention to them. But I won't rip this movie apart because of it, but at moments I can tell and it kind of bothered me. But I won't again. I won't mess with the movie too much because of that. Because again, very low budget, very low film. But yeah, I won't make fun of the movie for that. I won't say it's a negative, but yeah, that's just something that I noticed every now and then, and it just bothered me in moments. But at the same time, I just kept forgiving it because of that. Moving on to my negatives. Now, this movie does it does have that rewatch value because of the kills and Art the Clown and all that. But unfortunately, where this movie kills it for me is story. This movie does not have a story whatsoever. All we're giving is that these two girls have possibly just left a Halloween party, and you just get Art the Clown kind of walking around, don't know anything about him. He's just walking around stalking these girls for a little bit until they go into this warehouse because I believe the girl's name is Tara, had to go pee and went into this building that this guy is in about to kill a shit ton of rats, and then just shit goes wild after that. And that is the entire story. That is everything that we're given, and that is everything that we're just given as a story. And I always, when it comes to a film, I always put story and characters first before anything else. Is the story good, and are the characters likable? And unfortunately, this movie doesn't have that because all this movie really is just to show you Art the Clown, just to show you what he's able to do, and just show you how messed up he can be, and just shows you that is he going to be the next horror icon, which they absolutely succeed in that department. But in this film, when it comes to the story, it very lacks, and that's very unfortunate. Which sure, it kind of has a story there, but that's nothing. And there's like no explanation on anything. We don't get to know any of these characters, which I'll get into. You don't get to know any of them. You don't know anything. You don't know if you like them. You don't know if you hate them. You just nothing. I also do think the acting in this movie is pretty mediocre outside of David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown because everybody else around him and everybody else acting, they are just not good. They deliver flat dialogue and they just deliver dialogue that just not dialogue, a line delivery that I felt should have been better. Like, there's parts at, like, beginning where the girls are in, like, the pizzeria. The girl comes back, goes, "That was the longest piss I have ever taken." And then it's just like, okay, that's really weird how you just said it like that. But hey, you're drunk. Who knows? You don't even know what the fuck you're saying. And then Tara, the final girl for a moment in this movie, like, she she's kind of roasting her at one point. I forget what she said, and she goes, "If only you had a brain." I've been wanting to use that one for a while. It's just like, oh god, that's what the movie's gonna be. Okay, where's this clown to kill you? And oh, there he is. Yeah, this movie's interesting again. But just like the acting, it's just like I get it. I get this movie was very low, and the movie just wants to focus on art. This movie just wants to show us what this guy is made of. This movie just wants to show us what he's able to do. But if everybody else around him is just so boring, I just want to see art. I don't want to see these other characters. I just don't care if they're bad, if they're acting bad. I just want to see art at this point, which, again, it succeeds, but it's just like, dude, come on. Come on, dude. Like, really? That's the best acting you can get? Just a bunch of people you just found on the sidewalk, which they might have had a good time. Who knows? I don't know anything. And my final negative is the characters now. It's not like the characters are bad or anything. It's not that they're dislikable. It's just that they're not memorable. They're just there. They're just there for art to mess up and kill. Again, I sound like a broken record, but this movie is just arts film, not these other characters film because like you need characters there. You need to have this guy, this slasher to kill people. You need to have people there for him to kill. And they have them there, but it's just like I wanted to at least know these characters because at the end of the day, and especially at the beginning of the movie, you know what's gonna happen to these characters. So there's like no suspense with these characters. And at the same time, you just don't care for these characters because you don't know them to where if they die, you just won't care. Like, because in the beginning of the movie, they basically just let you know everything that happens in this movie to where everybody dies. And even the one person that survives, who we find out is kind of like a I don't know, a follower of Art in the sequels who gets her face eaten by Art. When she's the only survivor, and she's still kind of left the scene all messed up. To where this movie just shows you that these characters are going to die no matter what. And that kind of takes your experience out of the film. And it kind of takes your experience out of these characters because, like, again, no suspense with them. Like, there's just no memorability to them, and there's just no character arcs there. So you just know that these characters are going to die no matter what. You know that art's going to catch up to them. And they even do like a very poor scene of like the girl hiding around in this like parking lot or whatever, hiding behind these cars, hiding away from art. But the entire time as an audience, we're sitting there going, when is Art going to show up? When is Art going to come over and just stab this girl in the chest or something, stab her in the eyes or whatever? And then when it finally happens, you're like, oh, there it is, because you just know this character is gonna die. You don't know if it's gonna happen now or if it's gonna happen later on in the movie. You just don't know when it's gonna happen. So, unfortunately, that is just a huge negative for me because slashers, sure, to an extent, you you can say the same thing about Friday the 13th, but still in those movies, you're still giving enough. You still are given enough about the characters. You're still given enough of what the characters like or what they do for a living or whatever, and they're somewhat likable in those moments. And when they die, you're like, oh, that's a bummer. But this one, they just do the opposite of that. All in all, guys, I really enjoy Terrifier. This movie, sure, it doesn't have a story, it doesn't have very memorable characters, and the acting is very mediocre, but everything that it doesn't do well at, it saves itself with the gore, kills, and Art the Clown. And I won't recommend this to everybody. This is a movie to where you need to know your audience. You need to know what kind of horror slashers do you like. Do you just like slashers to see the horror character just mess up a few people? Do you like slashers where you still see that, but you still have likable characters and you still have suspense value to it, kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street or something like that? Then I wouldn't fully recommend this movie to you. I would still tell you guys to give it a shot, but there are still moments there to where I don't think you'll love it, but there are moments there to where I do think that it is at least worth one watch. So what do you guys think about Terrifier? Have you seen it? What do you think about it? Do you like this movie? Do you not like this movie? Do you prefer the second one? Have you seen the third one? And do you prefer that one? Let me know in the comments below and we shall talk about it. If you like this video, like it. If you love to subscribe to the bell notifications so you will get notified for all of my latest videos. And of course, until my next video, see you all next time.